Hello, it's Shirlene here with Anime on Location at Ohayocon 2018 with Oriana. It's been a long day. So
It's been a long weekend.
yeah, yes. So tell us about your symbiotic relationship between drag and cosplay and how it influenced each other.
So I started cosplaying 12 years ago, and I didn't just cosplay within my gender. I started cosplaying as Sailor Moon. I went to every convention dressed as Sailor Moon, so much so that people started affectionately calling me Sailor Man. And it was a really cute nickname that I really enjoyed. And about 5 years ago, that sort of transitioned into being a drag queen and putting those costumes I was making and wearing at conventions on stage at a bar and putting that to music. I'd already been doing a lot of masquerades, so I'd already done the skits, and it was just a natural transition. So the relationship is very close.
So it was right in your element, huh?
It really was.
So how does the two complement and enhance each other in an art form?
I feel like as an art form, they complement each other by having shared elements. So you have the costumes, you have the makeup, you have the frivolity of doing something that you're passionate about, and my makeup has gotten a glow up, as they say. When I was originally cosplaying, I would just walk out of the hotel room with mascara, lip gloss, and a dream. And now, obviously, I put on lipstick too.
And how important is it to have acceptance and open dialogue with those in the community coming up in terms of gender identity?
It's very important to have an open dialogue and an accepting and welcoming mind. We're in an era now where gender identity is at the forefront of the conversation, and we are experiencing a revolution where those who are having a gender identity, not crisis, but coming to terms, a self-realization, and with that conversation, with that comes to a need for acceptance, a need to listen to other people, to have that open mind. If you aren't listening to what someone is trying to tell you, and then internalizing that and giving that acceptance back, then it really closes off the community. It really closes us off from each other as human beings. Gender is fluid. Sexuality is fluid. Humans are just that, humans. And we can be and do and feel and think however we want and however we need. And I fully believe that conversation, that acceptance, that openness needs to be at the forefront of this narrative.
It's your time. It says in your bio that you competed in the Austin International Drag Festival. How was that experience for you?
So the Austin International Drag Festival isn't actually a competition. It's just a festival that celebrates drag throughout the nation and internationally. And I submitted an application to be a performer at the festival and was accepted, and it was an amazing experience. I had never performed in Texas before. I had never been to Austin before, so just even going to Austin and seeing all of the weirdness, as they like to promote, was wonderful, and the food was amazing. I ate at so many different little trucks that were parked along the street. I just kept going through and just getting more food. I met so many fantastic artists that were just so open and amazing with their gender expression and their art form. Specifically Crimson Kitty, Geneva Convention, they were just so wonderful and beautiful, and I love talking to them and meeting them and seeing their art. It really helped elevate me as a performer, as an entertainer, to share that experience.
You also studied costume design in Indiana University. How was that? How was it attending there and making cool stuff?
Attending in Indiana University was a wonderful experience, and it's on multiple levels. Both of my parents are alumni of Indiana University, and I grew up in Bloomington, so being a townie, it was very important to me. I had a sense of home and a sense of pride attending that university. I originally was going to go for the fashion design degree, but through a random happenstance, I took the beginner or the 101 like costume design course and fell in love with costume design, and it really just, and the theater department in general, it really just opened up an entire new world. I didn't even realize that dressing people could earn me money, and so I began learning how to be a wardrobe supervisor. I worked on over 30 shows while I attended Indiana University. It was just such a beautiful experience meeting all these different actors and all these different designers, whether it's for set and stage, sound design, costume design. It was a wonderful experience, and I wouldn't have traded it for anything.
Yeah, a lot of people do need help getting dressed, though.
And undressed. I mean, I was essentially paid to get people naked and put other clothes back on them.
Nice. You're also a video game lover. What's some of your favorites, and are there any that you would like to cosplay from?
There are so many that I want to cosplay from. I love video games so much. I have played video games since I was just a wee baby in the early 90s. I was an 80s born baby, but I didn't get an SNES until a little bit later in the 90s. But I played Secret of Mana and Final Fantasy 3, which is actually Final Fantasy 6. That's how much of a nerd I am. And I played those on the Super Nintendo over and over and over and over and over again. Final Fantasy is probably my favorite franchise. I used to hide a PlayStation with a old television in my closet in high school because my mom didn't want me playing too many video games. And even though I'd already come out of the closet, at night I would go back in so I could play Final Fantasy VIII. That's how much I love video games. I'm currently finishing up the HD remake of Final Fantasy XII. It finally looks the way it should have always looked. I was always disappointed that they rushed it and put it out for PS2. I understood that the PS3 was coming and they really just wanted to get one more game out there, but it now finally looks the way it should. Fran is a costume that I'm working on, and that's from that game specifically.
It also says in your bio that you happen to work for stage work doing wigs and costumes. What has been one of your favorite to work on?
Oh my, I've gotten so many. It's been a real pleasure to work on wigs in theater. I didn't even know that I liked wigs until I just happened to talk to the costume shop supervisor at IU, and he introduced me to wig design, and it just really blew up from there. I'd say my favorite one while I was at IU would have to be Into the Woods. I got to build a 12-foot long Rapunzel braid that attached to a base wig and tore away from the nape of the neck when the witch cuts her hair off, and then a 30-foot identical version of that hung from the tower. It was a real job, a real undertaking, and I would not have traded that experience. And then a couple summers ago, I worked at Red House for 4 months as the interim costume shop manager, and while I was out there I was afforded the opportunity to do wig design on a few shows, and The Little Mermaid was one of those shows, and that is my favorite Disney movie, and so to be right, it's so good. 20-foot tall Ursula in the theaters scared 6-year-old me so much. I like ducked under the seats. She was scary. And it was a real pleasure to work on that show and be able to design wigs for my favorite Disney movie of all time.
And by the way, this wig is giving me life. So from cosplayer to cosplayer, do you have any wig tips that you can give out?
From cosplayer to cosplayer, my favorite place to purchase wigs is Arta Wigs. I love their wigs so much. The product is amazing. They also have a wig named the Oriana, if you are so inclined. But the product is really amazing. I like the way that the fibers feel. They're thick, luxurious. The wefting is full of hair. This is just one wig with no additions added in. It's the Matilda lace front wig. And I use them for all of my cosplay, and I use them a lot in theater too.
Okay, thank you. So recently, the drag community has been featured on television, on shows such as RuPaul's Drag Race and all of his variety shows. So this represents the community at a large or small proportion?
I think it represents like a middle road of the community. It represents a side of the community, and it also allows for the community on whole to be seen in pop culture on a big screen pushes it in front of a larger audience. It does make it less subversive, which some in the community say lessens or cheapens the art form, but I disagree. I think that it invites more people to join the community. It invites more people to have the opportunity to express themselves in ways that maybe they didn't even know they could express themselves. And I am all about anyone and everyone expressing themselves using the art form of drag. I don't care if you are trans, if you are cisgender, if you are white, black, Asian. If you want to put on makeup, if you want to put on a wig, if you want to come out bald, if you want to smear fake blood all over your body, come out on stage, express yourself, show us the story that you want to tell. I want to see it.
You do you. So, is there anything you would like to tell your fans about any upcoming projects or anything?
Sure. I am currently working on a rose quartz cosplay that I'm very excited about. There's been a lot of detail work. I was going to debut it here, but I put it off just so that I could finish that detail work. I perform about once a month at the Back Door in Bloomington, Indiana. My next show is on February 2nd, so even after I've been in drag for 4 days, I have to get in drag again at the end of the week. So I hope my face is ready. And just check out my Instagram for future events. I'll be posting future cons that I'll be at. Right now, the next one is ASEN, and I know that I'll also be a guest at InCon Junction, which is in Indiana.
And is there any place that people can follow you on?
The best place, well, my favorite social media avenue to post on is Instagram, and that my handle is Oriana Perón. I like to keep things simple. My Facebook is also Oriana Perón. My Twitter is Oriana Perón, and my website is orianaperón.com.
And thank you so much, Oriana.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure.
Same here. And by the way, I love Steven Universe.
Yes.
So, you guys, that's a wrap. We'll see you next interview.